I'm text forever.
All these structures make me anxious. Look, I'm just tryna f you, not them hoes you came with. Pull up on 6 slow, loud and banging. Yeah, Texas forever, still twisting my fingers. Texas forever, you speaking my language. Look, all in a day, but for Wednesday. Out in the field tryna score me a deal. Put my name by that X like I'm Kimbe. I do it off of my team, just a young covered in green like I'm Dende. We ain't compadres, comprende. Clutch city, crush city, whatever you call it. I stay with my friends, stay hands in, never hand out. Look, I had it, go get it, my everybody say I'm the man now. Wrist moving in and out the kitchen, my might pull up on 6 in the whip, whipping it. I'm just a young getting it. All I had was the pot I was pissing in. Now everybody want pieces, percentages. I'm just trying to get my niggas over. I did the work that they won't. All this money, cash, cars, clothes, hoes coming in fast, but I'm sipping slow. Cause it's Texas forever. You already know. It's boy down at
Text forever.
Hey, welcome back, friends. It's been a while since I've seen you, 3-4 weeks, give or take. Had the Thanksgiving holiday run in and kind of messed things up for a little bit, but needed a break from the Texans as well. They were kind of straggling along there. A lot of close games, a lot of close calls, but we are back now after the bye week, ready to go. 4 more games to the end of the season. Pretty tough slate of matchups here, but really possible, really easy for a playoff push here to try to get in with a favorable matchup, host the home game, win the division, and head into the playoffs, hopefully with a little bit of steam. But it's been a while since we've been here. You just saw the intro, ran that. It's good to be back. Good to be back. Feels good. And while we're here, let's hit the official H-Town intro. But plenty of news that we will get into today. Got some injury updates. The big Aziz Al-Shaair suspension from the Jaguars game. Some folks returning to the lineup, Mr. Christian Harris and Kenyon Green, news updates there as well. So we'll get into all of that today, as well as comments from the general manager and head coach. All that on the H-Town Huddle. And as I mentioned, we are back with week 15. A couple of things have happened or have transpired since we last spoke. I believe the Cowboys were up next on the menu the last time we had a show. The Texans went ahead and took care of business there decisively, making sure that they were the best team in Texas after that one. But we did miss the Tennessee matchup, which was so heartbreaking, followed by obviously the Jacksonville Jaguars game, and then the bye week they were just coming off of this last time. So, hey, cheers to Gemmo. Appreciate you, Gemmo, for tuning in. It's a special edition lunch hour. I am alive. I am alive and well. We are live doing this one today during the lunch hour. Just a quick rundown. I hadn't been on in a couple of weeks. Needed to get back. But the bye week is behind us now. Lots of things have hopefully changed, hopefully pushing some positivity for the Texans offense here. Not what we were expecting or hasn't been ideal for the first 12 weeks. Lots of blame to kind of point around, fingers to point in several directions, probably starting with the offensive line. Secondly, play calling. And then you could look at guys, how that's affected CJ Stroud, and then other ancillary pieces like Tank Dell and I was going to say Jake Ferguson, Dalton Schultz. So plenty of that stuff going around. Lots of that to dissect. But like I said, bye week, hopefully it's a get right time. They can, have some time to go over some of the things, look back at the 12 weeks of what has not been going so great for the Texans as far as the offense. I know the defense has been outstanding. But while we're on the subject of the offense and them not playing extremely well, take a look at this graphic that we pulled up here. Teams blown blocks and pressures allowed. The Texans rate, they're 32nd. They're allowing, which isn't good. it's 32nd means they are allowing the most, right? You see the red number there, 30.3%, which means that their offensive line is failing 1 out of every 3 plays. So that may be good for baseball. Let's say you're up in the batter's box and you get a hit once out of every 3 tries. You're batting over 300. You'll probably be a Hall of Famer. But if you're an offensive lineman in the NFL and you're blowing your assignments, you're allowing pressures on 1 out of every 3 plays, you're going to get your quarterback killed. And so that's been the glaring issue with the Texans all season long. And it's just disgusting to see that. You have teams right above them. You have the Patriots, the Raiders, the Titans, and then surprisingly, they're the Minnesota Vikings, but they've been getting the ball out fairly quickly. So the pressure's there. Darnold's been doing a good job dishing that out and then allowing his playmakers to do something with the football after the fact, which is the Texans should take a note out of that playbook there, but it is what it is. It's a stupid voice text. Yes, I'm alive and we are both live. So that's going on. Yeah, you have the link if you want to jump in and chit chat. But I'm going to try to run through all this stuff pretty quickly before my lunch break ends, and then we'll call it a day and see what happens this week. We do have the Miami Dolphins on deck. This is the start of a very tough stretch of the schedule for the Houston Texans coming up these next couple of weeks. Very important matchups here. They have the Miami Dolphins coming into town to it, and Jalen Waddle, Jonnu Smith, Tyreek Hill, Devon Achane, all performing admirably. Must start players. I think that all those guys that I mentioned right there for your fantasy lineups, if you have them, you are playing them. We'll get to the Texans side on offense here in a bit. But I did want to mention that the offensive line is still a problem here. While we are talking about the offensive line, some news: the Texans did sign Zach Thomas, not the linebacker, the former linebacker of the Dolphins, but the offensive lineman who was released by the Patriots earlier this season. Texans went ahead and claimed him off of waivers on November the 6th. And he was today in the starting lineup at left guard. So crazy news there. We're looking for some change, right? So Nick Caserio doing some things, at least there. Let's see. This is what Caserio expects on the last 4 weeks of the season. He wants good, clean football from start to finish. They said that they've done it in spurts. They've done it for different quarters, different parts of halves. One half or the other. We saw that with the Detroit game, that they were blowing them out of the water, and then they allowed them to come back in to the game, and they lost on the last second field goal. Classic Texans. So those are the areas that, if you have some marginal improvements, he's saying that, the team will take that next step and towards winning more of these closer matchups, these tougher games, right? So, but yeah, a very interesting thing there with Zach Martin being signed off of waivers, and then now after the bye week, with the starters running with that group there. So really cool, at least from a fan's perspective, to see some change there, them doing things, taking note that their offensive line, something needs to change. So I'm fairly happy with some of that stuff. I'm impressed. So hopefully this pans out. This guy's been waived by several teams. He had a futures contract. I think he was drafted by the Bears in 2022. So we'll see how this pans out. On the same note, the left guard who was on injured reserve, Kenyon Green, has returned and is practicing. So he's not up there with the starters, thank goodness, but Zach Thomas is. And so that's something to take a look at. We'll see how that works, if he will be starting this week for the Houston Texans on the offensive line. But just something to note, when Kenyon Green was there and he was playing horribly, the Texans did win 6 games. So not all bad news there as far as that goes. Just, something positive to say about Kenyon Green returning from that shoulder injury in which he failed to block for C.J. Stroud. The defensive lineman sacked Stroud, and at the same time, Stroud landed on top of Green, causing the shoulder injury, which placed him on IR for 4 weeks. So that's what happened there. Let's see. I think I had a little bit more on the offensive line. Here we go. Caserio on the O-line. He said they've done a pretty good job, really, since the Jets game. I would say after the Jets game, they were horrendous, the Jets game. They kind of shored up some things protection-wise. We'll see where they're at, adding Kenyon Green back into the mix. And he said they basically need all hands on deck for that. And I agree. They need the O-line depth. They need the players who are playing the best. Hot hand approach with the offensive line. Whatever works that will protect C.J. Stroud, keep him from being so antsy, moving up in the pocket, feeling pressure that isn't there, missing his marks. missing wide open throws to, or underthrowing Tank Dell, things of that nature. Just they need to clean that stuff up. If we can fix that, more positive regression towards the mean there, then you'll see, we'll hopefully see the Texans that we had at some point last year where they were just checking it up, nothing to lose kind of team. So CJ knew what he was doing when he took Green out. Yeah, I feel like it was almost on purpose. That's funny. But yeah, Casario had a lot to say. I kind of just glanced over the Aziz thing. We've talked about it on the other shows in the GWN network as far as quarterbacks needing to slide and taking advantage, and Trevor Lawrence being a 6'6" type of dude, 220 pounds, who's known to lower his shoulder and not slide. So Casario and head coach D'Amico Ryan's both coming out supporting Aziz, saying that the NFL is inconsistent. I mean, you saw it last year as well. Casario pointed it out that there was a play when CJ was concussed by Quinnen Williams in New York last season. Quinnen Williams threw his entire body on there. CJ had the whiplash effect. There wasn't even a flag for that style of hit, nor was he fined or suspended later. So the egregious amount of inconsistency in how they call things is what the Texans were kind of upset with there. But that's fine. They've kind of drawn this narrative that now the Texans aren't the bad guys. They're kind of taking this us versus everybody type of mentality. I don't know if they can really play that part when you have a Bible thumping, super nice guy as your quarterback. And that's got kind of the persona that they built all offseason leading up to this. Maybe they are a little bit too nice, and it's time to take the Aziz Al-Shire type of attitude towards everything that they're doing from here on out. Because guess what? It's not going to be easy these next 4 games heading into to the playoffs if they lock up the division. Hey, what is up, King D LBC? Appreciate you for stopping in, man. Yeah, like I was saying, it's not going to be easy. The Texans are expected to wrap up the division at some point here, as long as I think win one more game and the Colts lose one more game, if I'm not mistaken. I think I had a banner put up to here in regards to that somewhere. Let me see. Eyeball emojis. There it is. Yeah. So if the Texans win on Sunday and the Colts lose, Texans will clinch the AFC South. So all hands on deck, taking on it's not an easy task here. The Miami Dolphins have been playing particularly well over the last 3 weeks or so. So Texans play the least amount of cover 2 defense as well. So they're prone to give up a big play to speedy wide receivers. We've seen in the past the tight end or slot receiver kind of take something over the middle on a blown coverage when it's one-on-one, or Jeff Okudah or some other backup, Jimmy Ward or somebody is in there playing man-to-man coverage, and those guys get beat off the line of scrimmage. So they are susceptible to that. I am expecting at least one big play from the Miami Dolphins offense in that regard. It's probably from a Waddle or Jonnu Smith. But the linebackers need to step up, especially with Aziz Al-Shire out this week and the next couple of weeks, because the suspension was appealed, then upheld for 3 games. So there's that. Christian Harris is set to return, and I did talk about that a little bit. So here is Casario on Christian Harris's injury. He's just missed a lot of football. Not anybody's fault, really. It's just the reality of where they are. He's had a good attitude despite what he's had to go through. They'll go through the week, evaluate him, and then see where they are as far as he's been playing. I saw some clips earlier today at practice. He looked good moving side to side. That being said, there's a caveat because he came back in the offseason, did the same thing, and then he was back on IR. So, it is what it is there. I would just monitor that if you're looking at him for IDP purposes. Just see if he will start. Otherwise, it's going to be the H2O show. I'd still expect H2O to have the green dot, getting all the defensive plays and calling that stuff for you guys in IDPs. So you still feel free to fire him up. Guys like Neville Hewitt, probably relegated back to a backup role. Jake Hansen, Mbop as well, if Christian Harris is good to go. Really like to see Christian Harris back. Be good to have him and Will Anderson back on the same field for the first time in forever. So really cool. Would be super awesome to see that. Let's see, what else do we have here? Already talked about the Texans blowing a block or allowed pressures on over 30% of their offensive plays. And that's a good way to stunt the growth of a young quarterback. Yeah. All right, let's get into the Dolphins a little bit. Like I said, we're going to fly through this stuff today. Hey, what's up, Bakes? Appreciate you coming through. Just giving you guys a quick recap of things that happened over the last couple of weeks. We talked about the Al-Shire injury, talked about a little bit about the slump, some of the stuff with the offensive line, Zach Martin being inserted, projected to be a starter. We'll see just from what we saw at practice today at the left guard position, which if you notice, I didn't mention Juice Scruggs. No Juice Scruggs there in that lineup of the expected offensive lineman. So that's another change there. He hasn't been playing particularly well. He had a good rookie season last year, but that was at center. He's playing out of position, making some sacrifices. So with Jared Patterson back being the starting center, Juice Scruggs relegated back to a backup role, it appears. So let's see. Man, I want Christian Harris back so bad, but I don't have the balls to just throw him in the lineup right away. Yeah, I probably wouldn't, especially this being a playoff week. We don't know. Now, if he's practicing in full and they do mention that he's going to start, then he's definitely somebody that would throw back into the lineup. But today, no limitations. It looked like he was okay. We'll get more word on that tomorrow and Friday for sure. So still plenty of time to see what's going on in regards to the Christian Harris injury update, but he's been relegated to return. He's back at practice and he looks good. So far, so good as far as those concerns. What else do I got for today? It wasn't too much to cover despite missing a couple of shows over the last couple of weeks, right? But Texans winners of only, I think, 1 of 3 in that time span. So since we last met, or 2 of 3, I'm sorry, the Cowboys and the Lions game was tough. Was tough on me. I went in there thinking no chance. Then, oh gosh, we're blowing them out of the water too. Oh man, this is not good, and it didn't look good. Offense is allergic to scoring more than 23 points. Just saying, I don't know what's going on there. So they broke the second half touchdown curse a couple of times, and the defense helped there as well. But you just like to see it more consistently, like we said, or Nick Caserio mentioned in his press conference, saying put it all together for 4 quarters, and this team is a really, really good team. Otherwise, to me, they're potential frauds. They're pretenders if they can't, especially on offense, keep it going for 4 quarters. Now, I know that we only got to see the Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Joe Mixon combo for 1 game this in the entire first 12 weeks, which is really sad. But I hope they bring Stephon Diggs back on something cheap, like a veteran minimum deal, while he rehabs and they slowly integrate him back into the offense. Because I don't know if he's going to find a good deal or be a number 1 anywhere else. To be honest, I know he still looked like he had some juice in the tank, but he was trailing off from his numbers a couple seasons ago. We'll see what happens in that regard with Stephon Diggs, or if they're going to pick up somebody like, I think, who was it? I think Kendrick Bourne was released by the Patriots or something. So you could always look for some deeper wide receiver help. John Mechie and Xavier Hutchinson, minimal as far as stepping it up. The Texans aren't really throwing the ball around like they used to, especially when you have a guy like Joe Mixon who dominates in the run game, where he's commanding 25 to 30 touches if he's having a really good football game. So, CJ not having to throw as much, I think that kind of coincides with these guys not staying aggressive and then losing ball games in the second half. Because they just want to lean on that run game. And if they don't get into the end zone with Joe Mixon, it's hard for them to score in the red zone. So, I hope that they find more of an identity, or maybe some more balance, maybe taking more shots down the field. I don't know what needs to happen, or drawing up quicker plays for your playmakers, but Bobby Slowick under a lot of fire, under a lot of pressure. So hopefully we'll see him scheme up and get really creative, especially when on the other side of the football field, you have a coach like Mike McDaniel, who's known for that type of thing. You don't want to get embarrassed at home after you've had an extra week to prepare for your opponent with a lesser record than you, right? The Texans can lock up the division with a win, and the Colts to Denver. I think the Colts are traveling to Denver. So not necessarily an easy matchup for the Colts out there either. All right. I got to get this guy going, though. If we can get this guy going, everything will be good in the passing game. These guys out on the loose, still, I think they have combined 20 sacks between the two of them this season, 9.5 for Will and 10.5 for Daniil, which is amazing at this point with 4 games left in the season, and with Will Anderson missing 2 games as well. So both of these guys on the field at the same time. Tua likes to get the ball out quick. He is lefty. So that may pose some differences. Not really sure how you simulate that in practice, but it will be something different to deal with. And like I said, the explosive running back, Devon Achane, out of the backfield is really the guy who worries me, as well as Jonnu Smith, just beating linebackers one-on-one. If Christian Harris is back, though, he's a great coverage linebacker. I really feel solid about that. Him and H2O out there. Of course, we're going to be missing Aziz. He's probably one of the best if not in the division, within the full AFC South, definitely on the team. What else? What else we got? Let's get back to some banners. Got Casario. Okay, yeah. So let's remove that ticker here. Oh yeah, he was talking about Mike McDaniel here. Let's see. I got a Mike McDaniel quote. He was talking about D'Amico Ryans. So he's just saying, I'm just glad I didn't have to interview against him as far as getting a job either with the Dolphins or the Texans, right? Bottom line, he's a great head coach. Your job is to make everyone around you better. At every walk that I've been able to view him from age 22 on, that's all he's ever done. It's very rare that you get such a leader of men that's willing to and able to coach after having illustrious career as he did. And the best is yet to come for that franchise. So very high praise for Mike McDaniel, and I believe the other way around as well. There is some other connections on the coaching side as far as D'Amico Ryans and some of the Dolphins. I believe, here it is, here's a fun fact. Dolphins defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver is a former teammate of D'Amico Ryans on the Houston Texans. Weaver also coached for the Texans from 2016 to 2020, and he has the same birthday as D'Amico Ryans. So nice little fun fact there. But yeah, and here's the list of the offensive linemen that I was mentioning that they showed at practice today. At left guard, Laramie Tunsil. At left tackle, Laramie Tunsil, left guard. Zach Thomas, the newcomer. Jarrett Patterson at center. Shaq Mason, who's still old as dirt, at right guard. And then Titus Howard back to his original right tackle position, which is just great to finally see. So there you have it, guys. That is the minimal changes from around here. Make sure you're checking on neonpeacockmerch.com. Until the 13th, there is a sale happening on the website. And actually, let's run a promo. I'm going to have to head out back to the main brand, to our GWN mothership brand, so we can run a promo video for the website. Make sure you guys are checking that out. We still have sales happening until the 13th. $15 t-shirts. Make sure you're getting your gifts for your family. I think the 13th is the last day you can get stuff guaranteed to arrive by Christmas. And there you go. But make sure you're visiting neonpeacockmerch.com. I actually do have a few new threads up there, some new designs. You can get the Simpsons Bogart t-shirt. We have hats, trucker hats, baseball hats happening there as well. Yeah, I'm excited for this game. I believe I don't know what the over-under is, but the Texans are favored by 3. You're giving them, basically that's a pick 'em game when it's a 3-point home favorite. They could go either way. They typically give the home team the field goal advantage. So this game should be particularly close. I do think that the Texans defense is elite. They probably have some advantage there. That's going to be the thing to watch. Texans defense, defensive-minded head coach, defensive mastermind. The team's always playing well on that side of the football versus offensive-minded head coach, offensive mastermind, and Mike McDaniel, speedy guys on offense. So I think that's really the key matchup to watch. If the Texans can dominate there, then they should be able to win, although Texans offense is allergic to scoring more than 23 points. So we'll see what happens there. I didn't really talk about Joe Mixon in the run game, but I do believe that he's obviously going to be needed extensively. He has become sort of the identity for the Texans over the course of the first 12 weeks. He's a team captain. I believe he's leading the team in Pro Bowl votes. So whatever, if that even means anything right at this point. But Texans this Sunday versus Miami, big time game. Hopefully they can get the ball rolling. It's the toughest stretch of their schedule. After that, they take on Kansas City on NBC, and then the Ravens Christmas Day Beyonce halftime show. I will be in New Mexico watching from the snow. So with that being said, everyone, appreciate you all for joining me on this super quick edition of the H-Town Huddle, just giving you all the facts, recapping stuff. Hadn't seen you guys in a few weeks, but we'll be back next week to recap this game, talk about the upcoming Chiefs game. Hopefully we get them there. And then the Ravens. And then after that, see if there's still any meaningful football left in week 18. But those of you that are in the fantasy playoffs, good luck. Right now, I'm in 10 of 13 playoffs from all the leagues that I've made. Tank Dell, I am sitting him in most leagues, just so you know. Nico Collins fired up. Joe Mixon fired up. CJ Stroud only in Superflex leagues. Dalton Schultz on my bench. And that's how we're rolling. Everybody on Miami's side, I'm willing to take a shot. Is Devin White ever going to be a thing? Yeah, he's still there. The linebacking backups, I guess. He had come in and played for a little bit in a few games, had some good stops and coverage. I think that you may see a little bit more Devin White, especially with Aziz Al-Shire out. And then if Christian Harris doesn't make it back, I think we see a lot of Devin White. Probably have him starting over a guy like Neville Hewitt or Jake Hansen, who was that other starting linebacker. So I do think that he will become a thing there. We started to see him sprinkled in, especially in pass coverage type of situations over the last few weeks. And he made a couple of key stops, especially like in the Lions game. He played particularly well. So you kind of just keep an eye out. Go back and look at some of that stuff. They're using him sparingly, but I do believe it's Aziz Al-Shire's job, number one, to call everything. And then H2O right now, because of the health of Harris, who will be wearing the green dot, and then Harris number 3. So unfortunately, Devin White is relegated to probably number 4 duties. And the Texans are only running 2 linebacker positions, spots. And they're going to continue to do this now that Aziz is out. They bring in Christian Harris back in, hopefully. I think if we had Harris, H2O, and Aziz healthy, they probably see a lot more 3 linebacker stuff instead of this hybrid safety thing that you're seeing with Jimmy Ward a lot. So kind of crazy. Hey, what up, Spencer? Appreciate you, bro. Just dropping in. I was about to wrap it up. I just did a quick lunchtime 30-minute rundown of what we got going on. Just giving you guys an update, letting you know that I've been extremely busy. I was out of town during the Thanksgiving holiday traveling, so had to stunt the show, put it on hiatus a little bit, but went back, recapped a lot of stuff, talked about some of the major moves. Texans did re-sign. I thought this was great. Brevin Jordan, they extended him, even though he tore his ACL in week 2. That just goes to show that they're missing an explosive playmaking, pass-catching tight end. They did sign Andrew Beck back to the team. This was the fullback that was on the squad last year. I think he scored 4 touchdowns as a fullback last year, including a 99-yard kickoff return. So if we can have him back in the backfield doing his blocking things and get Dalton Schultz. I was talking about Andrew Beck. We can get Dalton Schultz back into a pass catching role over there and utilize him a little bit more. That'd be great news for CJ Stroud, right? But lots of questions with the offense. Not really sure what they're going to try to do to fix this stuff. I did mention that Zach Thomas, just to recap, Zach Thomas is now expected to be, or at least he was out there rolling with the starters at the left guard position next to Laramie Tunsil. So hopefully we don't have a lot of Laramie, leaning over and trying to tell this guy what the assignments are, help him out in double teams. Hopefully he can just do his job and solidify that. And if we can get that going, then the run game will really solidify itself. And then the play action and then the deeper passes and things should just fall into place. But the consistency needs to be there. And yeah, this metric of just blowing plays. If your offensive line is blowing 1 out of every 3 plays for you, things aren't going to go great. I mean, you see the Texans down there all the way ranked at 32nd on this board with, embarrassing teams in front of them, and then a whopping 30%. Like, it's not even close. It goes from 30 to 25% on that rate. So you're talking 1 in every 3 plays, 30%. It's ridiculous. So like I said, if they can fix that stuff, it's been 12 weeks. It was a late buy, or it's been 14 weeks. I'm sorry. It was a late buy. I've been saying 12 weeks this whole time. But 14 weeks, that's even worse, right? So, the much needed bye week, much needed rest. I think this team was really feeling it. They're like, we can just get to this bye week and survive. And I think it was kind of slipping from them there towards the end. You saw them dropping some close games that they probably shouldn't have. Won to the Titans for sure. So, one to the Titans and then that close one to the Lions. So they went 2-4 in that stretch. I did mention it a few weeks back when we were on the show that the Texans are taking a look at these 4-game stretches in blocks or 5-game stretches in blocks. And if they could split all of these, that they would feel really comfortable. Here we are again with another 4-game stretch. I believe if the Texans go 2-2, they wrap up the division quite easily, and they're in good position moving in, or feeling good, at least moving into the playoffs. But tough matchups. starts this week with the Dolphins, followed by Kansas City, and then the Ravens. If you can win 2 out of those 3 games, not really care about the last one, and go 2-2 here down the final stretch, I think that the offense and the team as a whole will feel a lot better about going into the playoffs. Plus, last week you'll get Aziz back from the suspension. And as long as we can keep everybody healthy, we know we're going into the playoffs. Let's just get the offense clicking. We should feel okay. Appreciate the breakdown. Of course, man. Of course, dude. Feel the same about Devin if Alshire misses. Yeah, exactly. And Alshire is going to be gone for at least these next 3 games. So we'll see how much he does get sprinkled in here. But with Christian Harris returning, I think they favor Christian Harris a little bit more. He's been kind of like D'Amico Ryan's pet project. So, but we'll see. Devin White, speedier guy, good side-to-side movement. That's the type of dude that D'Amico likes on that defense. So aggressive, quick, less thinking, more attacking. So good fit for the team. It was a great pickup, honestly, and I think a really great depth piece. And we've already seen him kind of integrate himself a little bit in the rotation. This entire linebacking core is going to really need to step up this next month with Alshire gone, because he's the leader, the voice, and the signal caller on that defense, quarterback of the D. So there it is. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. I'm going to give you guys a bonus video before I head out. Let's see, what do I got here? The old Huddle outro. Let's do the old Huddle outro for a bit. That's kind of long. Let's do, which one? Let's do a swarming defense, just so we're reminded about how the defense plays, and then we'll do an offensive outro. How about that?
Hey, you right here, man. Hey, for 60 minutes. Work that better down. Don't make no fucks. I need everybody with you. Shut the tone. Hey, well, use it. Hey, take something, take that 3. 1, 2, 3. Hands in.
Oh, I was up there. And there you have it. That was off a little bit of the defense, just reminding you that we are without Jalen Petrie as well, who has a strained pectoral muscle. I thought he was going to be out for the season. Looks like it's something that they didn't have to place him on the IR for. I'm thinking that he will return for playoffs at least, but questionable still. No official injury report released as of yet, as the time of this recording. So it is Wednesday the 11th. We'll have an official one probably later this afternoon. Get a better inkling of who's in and who's out. But as far as that goes, like I mentioned, for fantasy football purposes, you're starting Nico, you're starting Joe Mixon, you have question marks with everybody else. On the Dolphins side, probably fire them all up, even though the Texans defense is really good. They will allow a big play from someone. So just kind of have to hope and pray. Yeah, Jonnu Smith really showed up in overtime last week for the Dolphins to get that victory for them. Let's go, Nico. I need a 30 bomb from you this week. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely within the realm of possibilities. We've seen Nico Collins take a screen to the house from anywhere on the field. So he is a beast and a baller. But that being said, folks, thanks for tuning in this week. Maybe we'll get a quick recap on a Sunday night after the game if it's a really good one, right? Otherwise, we'll same time. Well, not the same time, but next Wednesday we'll be back, hopefully around 8:30. But I wanted to get this one in here quickly since it's been a couple of weeks since we've last chatted and discussed the Houston Texans, who are now 8-5, 2 games ahead of the Colts in the division, firmly in the driver's seat for a playoff spot to host a playoff opponent at home wildcard weekend. I think the Chiefs just continuing to luckily get by week after week. They've solidified that first round bye, and nobody else is even going to come close to sniffing that at this point. So it's all about just getting better within your own ranks, looking good for a full game, full 4 quarters, being extremely consistent, seeing some good play from the offensive line, and getting some ancillary pieces in the passing game going other than Nico Collins. I'd like to see all of that stuff this week versus a tough Miami Dolphins opponent that's coming into town. We shall see how it transpires, but I'd expect D'Amico Ryans and the Texans to be ready for this, having the week off, feeling fully refreshed and ready to go for this last stretch of games before the playoffs. That said, appreciate everybody. Make sure you're checking us out for the live watch party tomorrow night for Thursday Night Football on our mothership, the GWN Network. Go head on to neonpeacockmerch.com, grab some GWN t-shirts, hats, and be on the lookout for plenty of other sales and new merch dropping nearly daily. Appreciate everybody. We will catch you on the next one.